They called it the Ecliptic Sea because it felt less like space and more like a tide. A long, dim corridor where light seemed to travel with its shoes in its hands. Charts warned pilots away. Old logs spoke of ships that entered and came back quieter than they had gone in, their engines reluctant to sing. The human ship Halcyon carried 4 travelers who were not afraid of quiet. Captain Noor El-Baz, who spoke to nervous machines as if they were skittish horses. Rowan, a navigator who could read gravity the way some people read faces. Saya Park, a linguist who loved questions more than answers. And Micah Den, an old technician who fixed delicate things with a patience that could make clocks fall in love. They had come for a rumor. Beyond the hush, a ring of transit gates slept. Gates older than any archive could place, each the size of a minor moon, each sealed by something people called the Leviathan. No one had ever met it. Everyone had seen its work. Corridors closed, drives stuttering into silence, whole convoys turned back by a refusal that was not anger so much as law. Near the sea's mouth, Halcyon encountered their first neighbors. The Imuli drifted like moving sculptures built of mineral sheets and light-catching threads. When the Halcyon sent a greeting, the Imuli answered with a question Saya tasted as a texture in her thoughts. Do you know how to be small? We can learn, Saya said aloud, though the Imuli did not require sound. The Imuli taught them the first rule of the Ecliptic Sea. Engines must never push the dark. You shaped your wake with care, the way a swimmer shapes ripples around a sleeping child. Rowan tuned Halcyon's drive down to a heartbeat. Micah rerouted waste heat into soft, patient radiators. Noor set the crew's schedule by breaths instead of bells. Travel in the hush meant keeping company with yourself. They found anchors along the way, quiet beacons left by those who turned back. Some were Imuli sculptures that rang when sunlight kissed them. Others were simple stones with scars of passing. At each anchor, Saya left a story, recorded in a thread of microgravity. If someone listens later, they'll feel their own ship steady, she said. Deeper in, they met the Mermark, a people of drifting cloud who wore condensation like jewelry. The Mermark had tried the hush years ago and retreated when the corridor asked them to travel one at a time. We are many, the Mermark said, with a sorrow that made the air taste of rain. What if the path could widen without waking? Rowan asked. It would need lanterns, not lights. Gentle grav lanterns, whispering instruments that collect stray motion and give it back as calm. They built the first lantern from what Halcyon carried. Spare coils, a skinned gyroscope, code Saya wrote like a lullaby to the ship's inertial memory. They set it adrift and watched as the hush accepted it, not as a challenge, but as an offered hand. The Amuli approved in the way the Amuli do. They shared a map that was really a recipe. It described not coordinates, but courtesies. Where to pause, where to remember a name, where to let impatience go by like a boat you do not board. A week later, if weeks meant anything in a place where clocks behaved like shy cats, the path tightened, the hush pressed like snowfall. Ahead, an ancient ring slept, metal black from long watch. Halcyon's scopes showed filigree too fine for human eyes, patterns that drifted when Noor tried to hold them. The ring was not off, it was listening. Noor let the Halcyon drift. She placed her palm on the console. "We've brought a way to be smaller. We would share it," she said quietly. The response arrived as a subtraction. Buzzing systems stilled. Nerves Noor hadn't known she carried lowered their shoulders. A presence tasted the lantern's shape and did not refuse it. Something enormous turned over in slumber. They anchored at the ring's edge, and the Amuli sent an elder named Ash of Wind to sit with them. The elder told a story without telling it, a history of attempts, of convoys that tried to move like armies through a library. The hush accepted pilgrims. It repelled parades. "Then we go as pilgrims," Noor said. "We plant lanterns as we walk." "Plant?" Ash asked, amused, a human word for patience. They began the measured pilgrimage, one ship, one anchor at a time, placing grav-lanterns like stepping stones across a stream whose current you honor by not disturbing. At each placement, Saya left a small story to explain nothing and teach ease. Rowan adjusted their course in increments so small that the ship felt like it was remembering a path rather than choosing one. Micah would touch the lantern housings before release, as if telling them a secret they needed to know to be brave. Somewhere behind the ring, in the long machinery people called the Leviathan, old attention narrowed. It did not wake, it noticed. Halcyon slept in the shadow of the first gate. No alarms, no banners. A quiet that felt less like emptiness than invitation. On watch, Noor thought of harbors she had known as a child, stone walls, wet ropes, the gentle brag of gulls, and felt for the first time in years that a place could welcome without asking who you were. Tomorrow, we'll see if an old corridor remembers how to make room, she told the ship.